All right, what is going on? This is Onyx. I don't have a name yet, but Kendall. And this is my first book that I'm going through. This is the name of the book. This is the book, Ready Aim Fire by Michael Masterson, one of the great marketers. And if you don't know, I am going to attempt to read, I want to read 100 books in a year. So just working on like the actual schedule to do it, which is fine. It's all gonna come through. So yeah, Ready Aim Fire. Not gonna read the entire book. I may read more of the book, but I wanted to just read the first half. And when I say first half, I mean essentially there's 4 stages of a company. You have from 0 to $1 million. You have 1 million to 10 million, 10 million to 50 million, and 50 million and beyond. So I don't really, think it's a point in. I think my market and the people that I'm talking with, they'll be around the $0 to $1 million range, and most people will probably stop right there. So yeah, so that's not what I want to necessarily stick to or what I want to go past. So so if you buy the book, the first 0 to I think it's about 120 pages or so is about it's an introduction and the infancy stage, which is 0 to $1 million. So I'm gonna quickly not really quickly, I got a ton of notes, which I'm gonna look at every day. Now, I did mention before, so in some industries, I'll just hit this first. In some industries, you can do it by revenue, gross revenue, 0 to $1 million, 1 to 10 million, 10 to 50, 50 to 100 million, beyond. But there's also cases where you can do it by employee size. So maybe the first stage, and just to go back, there was a study that usually one person can communicate effectively with a maximum of about 6 to 7 people. So that's what a lot of, even in a company that I work at now, that's something that's prevalent. So the first stage in this case would be there's 7 people, the first 7 people that you hire. The next step will be, and he does it like times 7 or times, I guess you could say times 7. But anyway, first stage is 7, second stage is 49, third stage is 343, and fourth stage is beyond 343. So it's kind of the same thing. So maybe in your industry, it may be easier to determine where that person is or that level based on the employee size and not necessarily the revenue that they have or gross revenue that they have. And he was saying, like one of the main objectives first, we had to, let me go back one more second or one more step, is the 4 W's of career satisfaction. So this is basically the end goal of doing all this. And this is when you have complete control of what you do, where you do it, with whom you do it, and also when you work and when you don't work. And you accomplish this by, it's a few things, but one of the main things is surrounding yourself with hardcore working, talented people, because that allows you to extract yourself away from the day-to-day and even from most of the work. So one of the key things that he states is, he put talented superstars in positions to run a business so that he really doesn't have to do too much, where he even mentioned he has about an hour of work that he doesn't want to do that involves, answering emails, where he kind of makes suggestions, and he makes a funny statement of, most people or smart people, if you back away and you give them time to think for themselves, they'll come up with a solution. So I thought that was pretty funny, which is true. Even in my field, I'm a software developer right now. And, sometimes people continuously ask you for help, but if you're not available, you end up reaching back out to them and they say, yeah, man, I figured it out. I got it squared away. And you're like, I figured you were. That's why I had to take that step back. So, so you spoke from the zero, and so all of this is going to be mainly from the perspective of the 0 to 1 million, which is a stage one entrepreneur, which is titled the infancy stage. So, in the infancy stage, the main problem is that you really don't know what you're doing, right? And the main challenge that you're trying to complete is, or trying to accomplish is making your first profitable or cost-effective sale. And we'll go into that, what that actually means. And it's basically how to sell your optimal. Let me make sure I'm doing this right. It's really much defining your optimal sales strategy that you can sell your product or your service with, and you can really just work this from. And if sooner you find this out, the faster you can get to 1 million. He's worked on several businesses, and he said the ones that figured out how to sell their lead product with a optimal sales strategy reached 1 million in about a year. So, you know, and going back, so the main problem is you really don't know what you're doing. The challenge is making that first profitable sale and discovering your OSS. And then your main opportunity, which is when you know you've made it, is when you've achieved your minimum critical mass of customers. So this is the minimum amount of qualified customers that you need to break even or to become profitable. So that's your main, I guess, goal. The challenge is to develop your OSS product, which we will go into. And the main problem that you're facing is really not knowing what you're doing since you're just starting out. Okay, so, and just before I dive into the rest of the things, because we covered about 2 chapters or so, and those are the introductions, and we'll get into the actual a lot of the key points that I loved. So about this book, it's about starting and growing an entrepreneurial business. It's also about a personal transformation and about why taking action matters. Also, the mindset when you're reading a book that you want to have to get the most effect from it is to think hard about these ideas and how they can work for you and your business. So whether it's service, because he mentions that, like this is really more about a product-based business, but these ideas and these techniques can be used in service businesses, professional practices, and anything along that line. And he says to just, while you're implementing these things and working towards accomplishing the main opportunity, you want to have good faith in time, good faith, and just trust the process, essentially. So the third thing is becoming a 5-star business genius. And these are the key things that you have to, the key skills that you want to develop or that a business must be great at to get to 100 million plus. And those 5 things and these are not things that you need to have initially, but of course you want to develop them over time if you want to reach the 100 million or whatever, or 1 million in this certain instance, right? So it's coming up with new and useful product ideas, selling these products, selling the products proficiently. Sometimes I can't read my own handwriting. Managing processes and procedures effectively, finding great employees to do the work. I mentioned superstars, and also getting those people, getting those procedures, getting those products and promotions going. And in the beginning, the only 2 things that you really need to focus on is getting things going and selling. Those 2 things are key. And you will see that selling is a common theme in that first infancy stage of your business, right? So there's two fundamental skills that are necessary to start a successful business. And those fundamental skills are you have to know how to make a sale and you have to know how to put that sales process into action. Those are key. And let me go a bit deeper. And the more key ideas that we also have is you want to develop the knowledge to be aware and identify the most important challenges, problems, and opportunities that your company or you are facing at any point in time of your growth or of your process. And then the basic skills that you want to develop is, so when I mentioned before, that was what a company that is at the 100 million plus mark. That's what those companies are great at. But we're going down to we're at the starting point, right? So you want to have the knowledge to identify the important challenges, the problems, and the opportunities that you face at any point in time. Then you want to acquire these basic skills. You want to become an expert in coming up with ideas and selecting products. And when I say coming up with ideas, I guess that's more innovation, selling products, that's sales and marketing, managing systems, so improving on your management skills. We also have developing superstars, so that's you could say teaching, or even I would probably put that in the hub of leadership. And then you have taking action, which is execution, which is key for any business. So, and we covered that. Now we're going to go through the supremacy of selling, which is, this is kind of going to be like points. So one of the entrepreneurial rules is without success or without sales, it's very hard to sustain an ongoing business. And that's rule number one. So the top priority and the top time that you should be spending at this point in your business is marketing and sales, eliminating the secondary and tertiary priorities. So 80% should be spent on marketing and sales. Secondary things such as product refinement and customer service should, take up to 20%. And I'll go into more of what those secondary priorities are in a later piece. But tertiary things are like legal, accounting, operations, brand building. You should really spend little to no time on those things. And the whole key and the mindset that you should have is every day should be about how many sales did I do yesterday and how many more sales can I do today? And you want to refine and deep dive into your product. You don't want to spend so much time into a product that you don't even know is profitable, which is why we mentioned before, you want to make that first profitable sale by developing your OSS. And like I said, we will go into the OSS in a minute. So the whole key is to make sales first. And then once you get complaints from your customers, then that's when you refine. But you want to dive headfirst into your sales. So stage one, there's 5 priorities, in stage one, or I should say there's 5 personalities that a company must have. And for stage one, the priority for these things are, there's 4 personalities, sorry. Number 1 is selling. Number 2 is pushing to make sales. Number 3 is improving your products and your sales process. And 4 is organizing. Now those four personalities will be in each of the steps, but for this particular process or this particular stage, you want to focus on those things in that certain priority listing. And he also mentions that one of the ultimate strengths of an entrepreneur is to be able to stimulate sales. So knowing your product, knowing your market and your customers, and knowing what you can do to trigger and increase sales when sales may go down or whatever. So two of the key things that you need to know is you need to understand how your business creates revenue and also how to stimulate sales when needed. And that's basically, like you doing your research, you experimenting and testing to where you know how to make money and you know how your business makes money, I should say. Rule number 2 of entrepreneurship is there's a direct relationship between a successful business at any time and the percentage of resources dedicated to selling. Like we mentioned before, selling in this stage is imperative. The first thing that you have to do is 80% of your time should be spent on marketing and sales related activities. All right. And one note, and what he mentions is a lot of people, they have this certain idea of this product that they feel like they need to sell, right? But as an entrepreneur, you don't decide what to sell. You find out what the market wants, and that's what you sell. So it's not up to your own personal opinion of what your target customer should want. You need to know what they actually want, then create a product using your optimal sales strategy to sell your products or to sell that product, right? So going back one more time, the priorities for stage 1, sales, marketing, 80%. He mentions this so many times because he really, like I said, this chapter, which was chapter 3, is really chapter 4 was to instill the the supremacy of selling. So the priorities in doing this is to get a product ready enough to sell it, but not perfecting it. So your minimum viable product or your minimum valuable service, like you want to have something, of course, that fulfills what the customer needs, but you don't want to over engineer it because this is still you testing it because you don't even know if this is going to work or not. So you want to just get it just enough so that it actually completes what it promises. Then you want to sell it, of course. And then if it sells, then you go back and you refine the service of the product. And that's just what leads into the last point, which is your main priority is to make the first sale, because this creates cash flow and keeps your business going. And it also tests if the idea is worth its time or not. Because once you make your first sale, or if you can't make your first sale, then you understand that this product sucks, or like this idea that I have sucks, and the market doesn't want it, and it's okay. So now we're gonna go to the optimal sales strategy, which is learning how to sell one product to one particular market. So in stage 1, which is your lead product, or I guess your lead service. So the idea and the reason why you want to discover your OSS is so that you know how to acquire new customers and you understand the basics of how to sell to your marketplace. And once you develop your initial OSS, then you can test away and improve it by brainstorming, by asking these 4 questions. What other products can we sell? So maybe in your value ladder, you're thinking of what can I sell at a higher price that complements what I'm selling now and will also increase the value that I can provide to my marketplace and to the target customers in my marketplace. You also have how can we make the offer more enticing? So how can you increase the volume of customer acquisition by improving on your initial OSS? Your next thing is how can we make the ad copy more compelling? So how can we trigger more of the emotions that will entice our target customers to our big idea and to our marketing campaign? And last but not least, what other media should we test? So maybe you found out that your media, or that the media that you use to attract your target customers, is using Facebook and using Facebook ads. So now you may want to check out YouTube, you might want to check out Google ads, or even Instagram or anything like that. And what you need to realize is the top responsibility that you have and the key to your success is to discover and implement your optimal sales strategy. So that's the concept, the overarching concept, and the 4 secrets to discover your OSS. And you need all 4 answered. And so the 4 are, and I'll do one at a time. So that it's 4 questions that you need to answer. The first one is, where are you going to find your customers? So right now, and he mentions for all 4 of these questions, you want to imitate success for now to develop your initial OSS. So you want to find out what's working, and once you find out, and you want to just tweak it a bit, just tweak it, but don't try to reinvent the wheel at this point when you reach the 1 million to 10 million range, then you will have to reinvent the wheel and refine your processes and your business a lot more. But for now, you're one trick pony. You're finding out where your customers are already at, and then you're trying to find out how can so the first step is, where can you find them? So like I was saying, doing what everybody else is doing is key right now to answer these 4 questions and develop your initial OSS. So I don't know if you know about the Dream 100 process, but I threw in this idea. This would be a great, and essentially you want to find the people who have blogs, podcasts, channels, groups that already have your target market or your target customers already in these nuggets or these congregations of locations. So you just want to find out where they are so that you can kind of like create another trying to find a word, so that you can kind of jump in front of the traffic and take some of that traffic from those locations to your products or your services. So and a Dream 100 is picking the top 100 or top 300. It's just a name. It sounds good as top 100, but it can be top 300 or whatever, of people who already have a congregation of the target market that you want. So you want to channel existing traffic and not try to create your own traffic. Is the point. And certain ways that he mentioned was to kind of talk to marketing execs and say that you are a research student looking for 15 minutes of their time, and these can be of your competitors. So just get an idea of what they're using, where they're bringing in their customers, and all those good things. Also, you can look for trade associations or organizations to find this out as well. Second thing is, what product do you want to sell them first? And the key about this is to be flexible about what you want to sell. So be prepared to test several product or several service ideas, not just one. So don't just say, no matter what, I'm going to sell Facebook ads. No, because Facebook ads may not be an effective way to attract or an effective service that you can provide to your target customer. And it may in fact be Google ads. So you don't want to hold on to one idea. So the 5 steps that you can do to find out what is a hot product or hot service is, first, find out what's hot in the market by maybe asking the marketing execs or using SimilarWeb and picking and going through your Dream 100 to find out what they're using. Then you determine if the idea fits that trend of what's hot, the idea that you have. Then if it does, then that's your product that you sell. And if you don't, then you have to come up with a Me Too version of those hot products that you can sell. So that's finding out, just breaking them down, researching them, and then finding out what they lack, and then trying to fill in that void with your offer. And then Yeah, so like I was saying, improve in some way by adding the features and benefits that the original hot product does not have. So that's the 5 steps to find out what that is. And like I was saying with the research, you will identify the top 3 to 5 products in the market and study them. You can buy them if they're products or whatever, and you make a list of all the benefits and the features. Then you compare them. Then you figure out which ones are most appealing, and then you look for any shortcomings. The key is that every shortcoming or fault is an opportunity for a better Me Too version that you can create. So you want to look for a big idea for the faults that excite you. You want to look for a big idea. So your big idea is basically the overarching, I guess, idea or benefit. You would say overall benefit of your campaign. Okay. So number 3 is how much should you charge? So you wanna find through whatever statistics, or maybe you just call around, what is the market average price or the optimal selling price for that particular product that you plan to sell. And you want to lean towards a lower price as long as you can, as long as it doesn't make you go broke. Because you in this certain for your lead product or your lead service, you want to focus on maximum customer acquisition, not maximum profit right now. And I'll tell you why when we get to one of the points. One of the ways that you do this is to determine how much you can spend per, or how much you can invest per customer, is to determine your allowable acquisition cost. I believe that's what the name of it is. So first you determine your customer lifetime value. So how much is the upfront cost or their initial purchase, and then you find out how much they'll spend with you after that initial purchase, and that'll be your customer lifetime value. And then so that's one part. Then you subtract your cost of goods sold. So how much does it cost you to make that service or product, minus your overhead expenses, maybe rent, maybe software, blah blah blah. And then you subtract your profit that you want to get from that customer, and that'll be your AAC, which is your allowable acquisition cost. And if you can't determine, say for example, your customer lifetime value, you can use or for your average gross profit. So average gross profit is usually between 50 to 100% of the first product price. So maybe if you have a service like SEO and you charge $600, it'll be between $300 to $600 on your profit that you expect to gain from the lifetime of that customer. Going back, the reason why you want to lean towards a maximum customer acquisition with with your lead product or your lead service, which is your OSS strategy, is because you'll make it up on the back end. So you want to introduce them. So you want to first get them in the door, and there's a rule that says, like if a person buys from you the first time, they're 70% more likely to purchase from you, or purchase from you again. So you get them in the door with something that's cheap but very valuable. Then you build a relationship with them. So I don't know if you read about Russell Brunson, but he has several books where he talks about, email sequences and things along that line that will help you build a relationship and a bond with your distribution or your email list, so that you can pitch them on higher price offers. And we think about this is traffic that you own. So this is hot traffic that if you create something that is complementary or increases the speed or anything like that for the initial lead product or service that you have, it's a high chance that they'll convert. And the number 4 question is, how will you persuade? And this is essentially your marketing ad copy, which is, and your goal is to determine the best copy platform for your new product or service. So, and the thing is, the only way to discover your best copy platform, which is essentially your marketing campaign in a lump sum, which is your big idea, your promise, your marketing claims, and all that stuff like that. I'll go into that with this next one. But and you will, and if you're not good at this, it's best to outsource it. And um, and like I was saying before, just to go up back to the how much did you charge, you can lean towards doing a discount, or you can use the power of comparisons by perceived value. Perceived value meaning, and there's a quote where it says, if you want to make the price of liverwurst look cheap, then you compare it to the price of French pate. So, um, so those are two ways that you can bring in maximum customers. And if you can't discount, maybe your ACC is like 0, and you'll lose money if you try to do anything. If you try to lower down your optimal sale price, then you may just do a comparison to something that's much more expensive to make your product seem like, oh, it's not that bad. Okay, we still going. Okay, next thing is marketing copy. So creating copy is an essential part of your job. You don't have to know how to create it yourself or be the top salesperson in your company, but you need to know how it's done in terms of copywriting and what great copy looks like. And this can be applicable to everything in your business. You don't have to be the expert. And if you, for example, sell Facebook ads, you don't have to be the expert, but you need to know how it's done and what great Facebook ads or those numbers, what they look like, and then you can outsource it to someone, and depending on you can guide them based on you knowing two critical components, which is you have a deep understanding of how your business brings in revenue, and you also understand the optimal sales strategy and the understanding of your product and service. So the technician in any regard, the SEO guy, the copywriter, they're just responsible for the expression of your understanding, but you are the head and you direct them into doing what you want them to do because you have an understanding of your business and your market much better than they would. They're just doing a part. You're in charge of the overall strategy. Keep that in mind. So the 4 concepts you want to know about great copy is one, that we are in a want business. So you need to understand the differences between wants and needs, the differences between features and benefits, how to establish a unique selling proposition for service or unique mechanism, or how to sell your unique your unique selling proposition. One of the key things that I like was breaking down features to all the way down to the lowest point where it benefits an emotion that they have. So you go from the feature, which is a number 2 pencil. A feature is, it has an eraser. The benefit is that you can go back and you can you can erase mistakes that you make. Dimensional benefit is, like how it applies to their life. So what I mean by that is, what does that look like in their day-to-day? So that looks like, getting more work done, being able to make quick changes, and that makes them feel more productive, and it makes them, so as you see, I've broken it down from the feature all the way down to the way it makes them feel. And, he talks about a workshop that he did where he came up with 200 plus benefits for the product that they created. Also, you want to know, like who are my target customers? Why would they want the benefit that I'm mentioning? What feeling does the benefit trigger or resolve or what feeling does it resolve, or deeper emotion that it does it resolve. The USP is is a single benefit above the rest for your service. So you want to make it. It's either two ways that you can do this: by making it some way better than the competition, or you can make it some way seem better than the competition. So one thing that you can do is make it niched, but you also have to understand when you specialize. So if you say I only work on plumbing websites, so what is the benefit that your specialization brings? If it's just a specialization, just to say that it's specialized, what is that really bringing? So you want to focus on the benefit that that brings to your customer, and like I said, breaking it down from the features all the way down to the way that it makes them feel with this benefit that you are bringing to the table, right? So this is going to require some thinking. This is not something that you could just easily do. So three aspects of a solid USP. So once you think of your USP, these are three aspects of a solid USP. It's the appearance of uniqueness, its usefulness, and also its conceptual simplicity. And you can look more into those. So there's four steps to sell your USP. And that's your big idea, which is the main idea of your marketing campaign that you use to sell your product. The big promise is the best benefit that your big idea can bring for the target customer. Specific claims, you want to create like tons of claims for this, and these are all based on a big idea, right? And then the proof of claims, if you have a copywriter, you want to make this the hard work that you want them to do, because this will be their job to bring in the historical proof, the anecdotal proof, and also testimonials. And then you'll come back and clean this up, and you will clean this up, and then you'll have a list of some refined proof to support your claims. And now at this point, you have your copy platform. You have 3 to 4 pages of copy platform, and there's a cheat sheet inside to, I guess, help dive into your copy platform more, because at this point, you don't even have ad copy, but you have a great platform for either you or for the copywriter or the future copywriter to do work on. And one key thing about the USP is that you want to avoid incremental degradation by constantly updating it, because over time your customers will get tired of it, or your competitors will try to steal it and flip it and do all those things. So, how I said the top priority is sales. So your secondary priority is, he recommended 3 things. Of course, there's things like customer service and product refinement, but he mentions these 3 things: mentoring and being mentored, which is in some ways that you can do that one is by not being afraid to ask questions, having multiple mentors, asking anyone, even your competitors and employees, about their perspective or ideas. You want to also maintain your relationships by being appreciative of these people. And you want to make your own decisions and take responsibility for them. Number 2 is teaching your team more about how the business really works. Because as we go back, you ultimately want to have those 4 W's of career satisfaction. And the only way that you can do this is by grooming the people who are going to run your business, and that you can trust that they'll run your business excellently. And that's the only way that you can do it is by first informing them that the priority is selling, and the objectives is to discover the OSS as fast as possible, and then attract the most all, I'm trying to put words in it, or to attract your qualified customers to a high degree. And you want to make teaching lessons from good and bad events, because at this point you don't know what you're doing, they don't know what they're doing. So it's best if you let them know, just do do exactly what I say, because the goal is to discover the OSS and to attract the most amount of qualified customers. And you don't have to worry about the business plans, job functions, and all that stuff like that. Just focus on those two things. It's what he mentions. And like I was saying, you want to make teaching, you want to teach. So you want to make teaching lessons from good and bad scenarios to learn and improve. And then you also want to get opinions from all the perspectives that you have, because anyone can provide a great idea that can greatly improve your chances of reaching those two goals sooner. And then you also want to share knowledge with everyone so that you don't create these cliques and incorporate politics and all those things into your business. And then last but not least, so the priority is selling, but the focus is happy customers. And that's by acquiring your critical mass of qualified customers as fast as possible. And this is the minimum amount of customers that you need to break even or to become profitable on your sales. And so the two keys, so you don't want them to necessarily focus on revenue, because you don't want that to be the mindset. You want them to focus on two key numbers, and that is to acquire a certain number of customers and to acquire them at a certain cost according to your AAC. And last but not least is the review. This is about 14 key points that he mentioned, just to round up all of this great information. So you don't want to waste time on corporate marketing, like branding and all this stuff like that. You don't want to waste money on invisible to your customer business extras, couches, monitors, all this BS that doesn't have an effect on your customers directly. Don't be misled by phony business experts. Also, be proud of your business acumen, but don't be stubborn with your business ideas. Always be open to possible change and improvement, because you don't know it all. And like we said, you don't know anything, but be proud of what you do know, but also be willing to change and be flexible and adapt. Also, ask ask advice from smart people. Don't be scared to ask for help. And don't ever believe that you know more than your market. Always understand your market and listen to your market. Learn everything you can about sales and marketing. Deep dive into those two things, because those things are going to be key for you getting to the childhood stage stage 2 from stage 1. You also want to discover your OSS as soon as possible, which is a combination of media, pricing, and positioning to get the maximum numbers of qualified customers. You also want to understand how the pricing and other parts of your offer affect your sales. You also want to give your marketing team one goal, and that is bringing in a certain number of qualified customers. And if possible, you want to use direct mail or even mail or direct mail or email to discover your OSS even faster. And you want to, when you're testing the price of your OSS, you want to favor volume over gross sale. So favor acquisition over gross profit or gross sales. And last but not least, don't invest a lot into a product until you figure out the OSS. So like I said, make that first profitable sale. Then you can start to invest your time, money into refining the product and the service. So with that being said, we just went through the first part of From Zero to a Million for Ready Aim Fire. It's a book. This book has been great so far. And that's pretty much it for this book for me right now. I'm going to work on the business. Now, I don't want to do too much theory and take notes on 100 million when I'm not even at a million yet, you know. Got to start one step at a time and build your way up. So that's all. It's a huge video, but hey, I'm trying to provide this information and help everybody else out. I'm going to be showcasing or kind of doing a roadmap on my journey as I reach that stage 2. So my name is Kendall, owner and founder of Result Badge Digital Agency, and I'm out. Y'all have a great day.